Radio on freedomslips.com and revolution.radio. It is home to fresh, unadulterated ideas and conversations in the chat, which is where I'm trying to get to right now. It's also a place to get your merch. This is show number 536. That's right. I looked it up. 630 and 500. As I was writing the show notes. You can catch us on air, online, on your smart device. That's right. That's the kind of time we're living in. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a great table of digital radio. Really cool, actually, that we can do that. If you missed the last show, that's okay. All right, not a problem. I'll tell you why it isn't a problem, but first I'll tell you what happened. She had Lorian Fenton, and she had UFOs, and they were talking about global events, et cetera, et cetera. Now, UFOs, of course, are now called UAPs. UAPs. Unidentified aerial phenomena. For me, they will always be UFOs, unidentified flying objects.
But what about the UUPS? Oops.
I know.
So that would be unidentified underwater phenomena.
Yes, 100%. It's I suppose the USOs, unidentified submerged objects. But the problem here is, of course, that UFOs is too loaded a term.
Well, they loaded it themselves.
Well, that is true. Quiet, you.
Pepsi.
The reason it's okay, though, to have missed her show at this point is because you can go to the archives. That's right. They're free, gratis, for nothing. You can have it and look at it and hold it and smile and brush its hair.
Let's all bask in its warm, loving glow.
Warmth. Wash your mouth. No, but... definitely. So you can go into the archives and look at all the shows and all the hosts. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the flat file. Really easy to navigate and free. Did I mention that? Doesn't cost you nothing. But come into the chat room because there's a whole bunch of people there if you can. Dave, I do want to say this very quickly in the intro. Some of my friends have told me that they had trouble getting into the chat.
Right.
They haven't been able to get into the chat. So just something. Maybe that we can...
well, I'll tell you what I do. I go to chatsy.com /freedom slips.
Gotcha. Chatsy.
And I get in every single time that way.
CHATZY.
Correct.
And then let's see if that works any better for you folks. Now, before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. For me, it is the Dharug people, and for Dave,
the Darkinjung.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Yes, another week. So, you know that you're living in crazy times. When the president of the United States comes out and goes, the Supreme Court justice ruling was terrible, a terrible ruling. I'm talking about Roe v. Wade, of course, 1970s landmark case. Funny thing is this, the lady who was not called Jane Roe, it was just an alias given to her. The perpetrator that was called Wade, his name was Robert Wade, I think. Anyway, the point is, this lady, she claimed to have been raped and didn't want to have the child, understandable. And she wanted an abortion. And this went all the way to the Supreme Court at the time, granting her the right for the abortion. Of course, by the time that they had moved through the courts, the child had already been born.
Of course.
I don't know if you were aware of this.
Probably walking.
Yeah. Well, I'm 22. I'm having a late-term abortion. Which term? It's the 32nd trimester.
Well, that would be very funny if the child was old enough to object against the abortion having been 22.
But think about this for a second, though, right? So but I'm serious. This is really quite disturbing if you think about it. So let's say you are that child. So your mother claims she was raped, and then her case is taken to the Supreme Court on which Roe v. Wade. I mean, that's where the abortion legislation was built on, right? The legalization across the federal structure.
The freedom of body, yeah.
But you're alive. Right? You're
the offspring. That's right. Yeah.
You're that child. You're thinking, geez, if my mom had her way, because there's no denying this. It's like you can't deny that was the lady's intention, right? Then I wouldn't have been born, right?
I'm a bastard and I'm okay.
I believe that a man, and I don't care if you identify as a woman, if you haven't got a womb, you haven't got a voice here. But you haven't got a womb. That's not no one's fault, not even the Romans. I want to be called Loretta. No, my point here is, though, that as a man, you can't really have an opinion. You can have an opinion, but it doesn't really count for.
I don't think it has any weight.
Because you keep it say whatever you like, but you're not the person carrying the child. You're not the person giving birth to the child, etc., etc., etc. It's not you at all. I mean, your involvement was 20 minutes, if that, and in the whole process, and the lady is then stuck with for 9 months.
That included the time to eat the pizza
and do the dishes, but what the dishes are done, but whereas the woman, obviously biologically, and again, is stuck with the child for 9 months, right? And then has to give birth and go through all kinds. I mean, I've got children of my own. I can see. I've watched my wife go through this whole thing. Dave, you're the same, and if you're out there having a partner, then you have seen it as well. It takes a lot out of the woman's body. It's hard. It's one of the hardest things to do. Yeah, but it's a really hard thing to do. Now, and here we are pontificating as men over the rights of women, which is complete nonsense.
Yes,
but right. I'm neither for nor against. I want to be clear here, right? But I am for the ability of people to make up their own mind. Everybody should have the right to choose whatever is good for them. And I understand the religious component. I understand the arguments back and forth. Trust me, I do understand the argument. But ultimately, I'm a man. I don't have an opinion that counts. But again, we'll talk about the wider impact and how Dave and I think it might have been a distraction. But there it is. I mean, we have now overturned Roe v. Wade on a federal level, which means that roughly half of the states in America can now essentially prohibit abortion, make it criminal.
Yeah.
And in fact, one state has already done so.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Oklahoma, but I'm probably wrong. So I do apologize, but there's one state that's they had a trigger law right in place, and it is already illegal.
Like a dead man switch, right?
Yeah.
Law disappears, it goes straight back. Yeah.
Look, I really can't remember which it doesn't matter. The point is,
I don't think it matters. Yeah.
No. Having said that, though, now the concern is for other things such as same-sex marriage, for example.
Oh, any kind of rights you might have earned.
Yeah. Look, any constitutional amendments.
And when I mean earned, I mean you've fought to win them.
Well, yeah. So it is a really it's a monumental thing. I mean, we'll get to the destruction in a second, but it is a monumental shift in American politics. And this has been around for a long time now. The problem here, of course, is that this will then be taken up by other people around the world. But look, even America changed their mind. Look at that. See. I mean, they had a Supreme Court ruling, and this is what it is. And here we are now. It's certainly and protests are right, of course. Thousands and thousands of people protesting all over the place in the States. It is one of those things, Dave, like emancipation back in 1865, 1866, I guess, that can split a nation. There was some people that were for slavery. There's some people that were against it. And make no mistake, without slavery, the wealth of nations would not have been built the way it was. Okay, let's be very clear. It's not the good Protestant work ethic, the Calvinists among us that created wealth of nations. It was slavery that created wealth of nations. But this is just as divisive an issue, and we know this because it also has encouraged violence, Dave, as you've seen, right?
Yeah.
They firebombed abortion clinics. They have, I think, people got killed in doctors and nurses, etc., etc. And it becomes quite violent. And again, the question comes again: whose spaghetti monster is better, yours or mine? Right? Again, I'm sure I'm going to offend a whole bunch of people there, but yeah, I mean, the great spaghetti monster in the sky. That's all I'm going to say here, because ultimately, it's a belief that everybody carries, right? Everybody carries beliefs, and then we also believe, oh, this is true, that is true, and the other thing is true. Now, anybody who goes and protests abortion on a monotheistic basis, so be it Jewish or Muslim or Christian, I don't really care. Read your holy books. And I mean, read them. Okay? Especially old parts.
Well, the old parts.
It's. I mean, people have complained about movies like Hostel and really graphic war movies, graphic torture movies, etc., right? If you read the ancient religious texts, they're like snuff movies. Okay, it is horrendously violent, including the bashing of children against stones. Oh yeah, that's a quote. Yeah, that's what he said. Take them, kill them all, kill them all. Entire nations and cities were raised in the name of various deities. Okay, so don't talk to me about the sanctity of life from a religious standpoint, because you have nothing. Okay, if you yourself have come to the conclusion, and that's cool. You know, I'm similar. I think life is a sanctified institution, and certainly better than the alternative that we know. But if you use religion as your justification to oppose abortion, I'm sorry, you got to try again, and a lot harder. So I'm off my crate, Dave.
Oh, good, excellent. I look, what you said, I think it's completely valid, right? Everything you say is valid anyway, and I agree. The issue is overturning a federal court ruling. Now, just because laws are meant to follow society. There are some, where, oh look, it says that I get 3 pigs a year that are just covered in mothballs. But this is how a society should work. But by overturning the right to have an abortion, I think goes against everything that we've worked really hard to get. Now, I'm not in a lot of the groups that have been working very hard for themselves recently, and I make this joke that there was a form that I was filling in on a website that said, do you identify as an Aboriginal Torres Strait Island person? Well, what? It's either you are or you aren't, not that, well, maybe I do identify. And I had to deeply question, do I really? And do I identify as, American, not African American, but American Indian, or then the island, the nation of India, or do I? What do you mean? Do I identify as? I thought identifying as a sexuality was one thing, pronouns, right? Yeah. I didn't think I could identify as someone from another country. That's very interesting.
You can. Not only that, you can identify. You can identify as being Aboriginal as well, right?
Well, that's what this. Did you hear what I said? So Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, yeah. So that was in the choices, and I what? Hang on, wait.
What I mean though is you don't have to be one.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But I'm going to be honest with you. This was on a job application, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it that's what they asked. Right. So anyway, the world's gone mad. So all those people that have been fighting for their own rights, same-sex marriage, good for you, to be able to identify as a gender in any one of the million of the rainbow, right? I support the rainbow. I really do. LGBTQ+, whatever you want, just don't tell me. I'm not concerned. It's never been a concern of mine what you do when your bedroom door is closed. I don't care if you identify as Tickle Me Elmo. I don't care. Right? Thanks for sharing. And I do believe at one point it'll be I identify as me. That's what everyone will end up doing again, because there'll probably be a point in which everyone has identified as something, and then the new trend will be not to tell people anymore. Right? Because the trend now is that there's very few people that have identified as something, so they're all going to do that, and then it's all going to kind of come back. And that's what I think is going to happen. So in advance, I'm going to be a trendsetter, and I'm going to say every life matters, and I identify as me. Because I'm sure that the world has gone so crazy that we're being right now distracted as never before, possibly in human history. Has there been so many darn distractions? You know, if you're singing my money jiggle jiggles, no, my money doesn't jiggle jiggle, it folds, right? If you know where that is on the internet, and you're not doing the dance, right? Because you're a TikToker, because I'm not. But if you're not doing that, there's something wrong with you, apparently, if you're my kids. But that was so like a month ago, Dad. Where have you been? The whole of society has been cut and diced into our own little arguing factions, where, despite there being probably the worst possible conflict time there has been since the last two world wars, we're so close this time, and it's drowned out by Roe versus Wade.
Yep.
In the news. Why? Oh, because it's a distraction, see. Don't look over there. Don't look at that stuff going on there that might, in 5 minutes, is going to affect you anyway, but it doesn't matter. Don't worry about Lake Mead, right? Who cares about the however many people live in Las Vegas that aren't going to have any water in? Well,
water. I mean, what? You mean like in the toilet, Dave?
Oh no, everywhere water.
That's nonsense.
There won't be water everywhere, but yes, like in the toilet. Even plants need electrolytes. So, don't worry about the fourth wave of the coronavirus, the BA5, which is crazy. And in Australia, in the winter that we're in, we've now got a very low uptake of the flu vaccine, the regular annual flu shot. Very few people are taking up the fourth, the booster, the second booster, or the fourth shot of the coronavirus vaccine, despite we've got 1,200 a week now dying of the BA5. All of these things are completely crazy. And all the things we're seeing in the media right now are disguising or keeping behind the curtain some of this real information. And Mackie, one of those things that I found was that Canada has announced a digital immunity passport. And now, that's come and gone. I should say that's come and gone. But what they've now that they're now discussing is having a digital identity per person as a certificate, sort of like blockchain, right? You yourself will have an identity, and that is straight out of Big Brother again. It's the serial number, per person. Yes, Yes, I've got a passport. I've already got one. Yes, I've got a license. I already have one. But it'll be one.
But do you remember what we discussed?
And it'll be trackable.
This was years ago. So we talked about the Internet of Things. The term had just been new. It was called the Internet of Things. I said that's wrong. It's the wrong. IoT is the wrong term.
That's right.
Why is that? Because it is not the Internet of Things, it's the Internet of everything. And then to Dave's point here, at some point in the near future, I mean, there are already people that have it,
Yeah.
but eventually I think it'll be most people, if not all, we will all have an IP address.
Yeah.
We will all be on the net.
On
Now,
the line.
Yeah, on the line all the time. On the line all the time. Right now, we connect to the internet through our device. So you have probably a telephone or mobile phone, whatever, some kind of smart device.
Yeah, it's got an IP address. Yep.
Right at your disposal, maybe not. Maybe you got a computer at home. It doesn't really matter. But you're using something to connect to the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the not too distant future, we will not need that. We will connect to the internet directly. We will, without an interface per se, either because we have the interface built in, or there is another biological component which will make the interface superfluous.
Wait till there's a hack, and then we all get hacked.
But see, and thank you, and that's exactly right. Because once that happens, it's all over. It is. We're done. This is now. And that's why I suggest if you ever get the chance to link up directly, I will say no. No, that's a bad idea. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if someone comes and offers you heroin, Dave, here, try this. You'll feel really good. Oh, okay.
No.
What do you have to do? Oh, you just inject that. You know, it's a bit of a needle. The first few times you take it, you'll probably be really, really sick. But if you keep persisting at it, you will feel really good, and then you won't be able to live without it.
Well, you won't be able to do anything else that makes you live, but that's all right.
You're really selling it to me.
Yeah. What other things do you consider benefits, right? Because I don't think I share those same beliefs. Yeah, that's right.
Right now I'm not sold. But this is the same thing, right? Oh, this is really good. You should hook up to the internet. Yeah, and then the thing is this, because I mean ultimately our brain does run on electricity. It does it. It does, and it's a slightly different operating system, obviously. But but given enough time and computing and storage power, we would be able to write brain hacks and brain viruses.
Oh yeah, completely.
And
you could implant
like I said,
memories. You could do a whole bunch of things.
I mean, you can do a lot of that already. I mean, Solaris does a great job on the psychotronic research front.
That's right.
So a lot of that is already happening, but not en masse. So the science, it's not the science. The tech is there. The science is there. The tech is there. And if it's ever offered to you, you just say no, thank you. No, thank you.
But this is the thing, right? So the big call. The instruction manual on how to run the planet with the 1984 title, where every single day there's some kind of little edging towards that thing. And the US now, the central bank they've announced it publicly. I mean, it was kind of always happening, but they've announced it publicly. And that was that they're going to create a digital dollar. And the digital dollar will replace currency entirely. That's the plan. There'll be a cutover period where both exist, but there's talk. This is the opinions only, not coming from the US government, which is talking about a debt jubilee incentive to cut over. That's the talk. It's not the advice from the government. And that would certainly get everyone across and start afresh, start new. I say bring the Soylent Green on. That's what I reckon. Just skip a few steps, screw that, and go all right to the meat of what's going to happen. But it'll be like Logan's Run. I'll wake up in the morning and there'll be light flashing on my palm. It's time to go.
I'm 30.
I really am.
Quick. And it's funny how I don't want to, if you haven't seen Logan's Run.
Spoiler alert. What's made in the 70s?
Yeah, no, but I mean, this is like a 60s movie, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's not like, oh, what? He's really his father, Darth? What? No, it's no. It's when they first see the old man, right? When they come across I think it's James Mason plays the old man, if I'm not mistaken. And was it? No, it wasn't James Mason.
No, it wasn't. I look up. Just keep going.
It doesn't matter. But it was really cool though, and they look at this old man because they've never seen an old man.
I know, that's right.
Wow, white hair, wrinkly skin. If you don't get too much of that if you die at the age of 30. So it was a new thing. Like Dave and I have discussed at length. If you don't live past a certain point, then there are certain things you will just never experience, like menopause, right? If you die at
Michael
30,
York.
Michael York was the main guy, but who was the old guy?
Peter Ustinov.
Oh, Peter Ustinov. That's
right.
The one and only Hercule Poirot. The only Hercule Poirot I accept. I don't accept any other Hercule Poirot.
She was Holly 13.
Yeah, that's right.
And Jenny Agotta, Jessica, she was the lady who played in American Wealth in London. She was the nurse. Yes. Yeah.
Correct. No, look, but to get to the point is that you just don't see any of those things if you don't live past a certain point. You just don't see them, right? So let's say we're moving into a world now where
I smell a comment about longevity in a minute.
Yeah, no. Well, there is that.
Really, yeah.
But we are moving into a world where medical science. I mean, a lot of people have said that we're either the last generation to die or the first one to live forever or as long as possible. That's been bandied about for a long time. So my generation, I'm talking about people born in the 60s and 70s, which is what does it mean? We're not X's, but are we Generation X's? Are we? What are we, Dave? What generation are we?
We're X.
Are we?
Yes.
Okay, so Generation X.
That's the best name of all of them.
That's no bias at all. But yeah, no, but if you didn't live past 30, you wouldn't see menopause. If you didn't live past 50, you mightn't see any of the or geriatric disorders, etc., etc. If you didn't live past puberty, obviously, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
You would think everyone just grew up to be children.
Yeah, so it is really interesting to just contemplate that for a second, right? And the distractions are here. The distractions are manifold. We have distractions everywhere, and they're fairly substantial, right? I mean, right now there's Donald Trump is being not really prosecuted yet. I wouldn't want to say, but there's certainly hearing
to no longer run.
Well, no,
he's
not.
Next election.
He can't run because they're making the case of him having insider.
That's what I'm saying. They're prepping for him not to be able to run.
Yeah, 100%.
If they get a successful case through, they breathe a sigh of relief for the bicycle falling over dottery old man to continue.
But he
someone
can't.
Else. I know he can't.
I mean,
because that'll be 2 terms. Yeah.
He can't. I'm sorry. No,
I mean, he can't mentally, but have you noticed that there's certain vice presidents that have completely disappeared from the media?
Who?
What? Who?
No, well, he has, right?
Kamala hasn't made a.
Kamala hasn't really made
an appearance anywhere.
No, she hasn't. But also, Mike Pence has sort of disappeared.
Yeah. Well, they claimed that Trump had said, this is one of the claims, that he wanted to end his life, Pence's life. He was making a call for just someone to do it. Yeah, and that's really bad. You can't do that. But if it was a quip or whatever, right? I'm not defending Trump at all. I just feel as though it's yet again another witch hunt. Whatever they want to do, whether people with guns they actually try, was it organized? No. Had people already decided that they were going to do it? Yes. So all of the 4chan and the 2chan sites that were leading people to get to this protest, there were already underground movements of people organizing themselves to do something. And that's what needs to come out. But of course, we won't see it. It's like the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. We don't see that, but we see Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Feces on my pillow. Pain in my heart. I'm thinking of you. So
I'm glad you can do other things.
I'm glad I can sweep roads. Yeah, because I can't sing to save my life. That's okay. You don't have to be if you're an engineer. An audio engineer. Anyway, listen. You're absolutely right, Mackie, and this is going to shape the next, well, I suppose the world afterwards, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, now, the digital currency itself, the announcement about the digital currency, is a huge shift. It's got to be the largest shift, and coming right at the point where everything is electronic. If everything is electronic and we have a Carrington event, well, everything's offline and there's no money at all, right? Everyone is returned to zero. If there was gold and cash and there was still some kind of currency somewhere, the wealthy might survive quite well. But if everyone in the entire planet was all on digital currency and we had a Carrington event and there was nothing, because it came around pre-electronics the last time that happened. So from a disaster point of view, that could be absolutely the worst thing that could have ever happened to anyone ever. Is, they're talking about right now that the cryptocurrencies are going to be the ones that prove that you own it. That's the only thing that proves that you own something, is that you're in blockchain somewhere. Yeah?
Yep.
At the moment, any currency in the bank can certainly just be zeroed or taken away from you, even by the bank. It's a bail-in.
Bail-in. That's a new thing.
Well, yeah, it's now written into the banking policies in Australia. It wasn't up until 2 years ago when they introduced it. Oh, there's an end user agreement. They've been changed some conditions. Don't worry about it. Don't read it. And then here it goes bail-in. You what? You're going to take my money now? Oh, yes. But see, we've always planned on taking your money, but now it's a policy. So, when the next big crunch comes around, we'll be fine. Don't you worry about that. You don't need to lose sleep that the big banks will collapse. They're going to be fine. I don't mind if my mortgage goes away because there's no electricity.
Yeah, but then you also don't own the house.
I don't own the house. No one has any record that we had any money. No one's going to track or trace or chase down any debt, because no one will be in a position to want to go to work. Of course, then we have the problem that no one wants to go to produce power or maintain any roads, and there's no shipping of goods around. Oh yeah, that's really bad.
That's right.
Yeah. So be careful what you wish for.
Look, yes. However, in fact, there was this movie, Die Hard 4 or 5, I can't remember which one, where this young hacker, he's confronted with the reality of a fire sale. Everything must go, right? Like all the utilities go down, everything is hacked into, and he sees people getting hurt, and he goes, "Oh, in theory," he said, "it sounds really good," but when you see it, then you see people getting hurt. It's not so great anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really where we are. I mean, it is. I don't think it's great to wish for these things, right?
Uh-huh.
Even if you're prepared yourself, many others will suffer. So there's no easy answer here. We do need to change things, but if we change it the wrong way, then we cause more harm than good, right?
Yeah. So how does one expect the world to turn? And look, if we had a Carrington event, it's pretty much over. Just doesn't matter. There's very little that could sustain itself after that. Sorry, don't worry so much. If there was a global catastrophe, i.e. a meteor strike or something, that could be pretty bad. But there would be little tiny pockets of survivability here and there, and certainly be. I'm not here. Where's Dave? Jim Jones? Yeah, well, I'd be Dave, wouldn't I? Yeah, hi, Jim. Yeah, so little pockets of survivability here and there. There'd certainly be a lot of people that were on the water, not on the line, but on the water. Major shipping, cruise liners and things like that could have been in a safe haven and survived it. Managed to find, cruise around until they ran out of fuel or found some country that wasn't entirely destroyed, right? So there's little tiny things here and there that would be okay. If there was anything larger than that, I dare say it'd be pretty hard. But right now, with if there was the possibility of a debt jubilee, a digital currency, a global one, there'd be a complete change in our society because there wouldn't be any way to support. Firstly, everything would be trackable. Every single transaction would be trackable. Every single cent that went anywhere, or microcent for that matter, anywhere, backwards and forwards between any people, would all be through the system. So there wouldn't be any way of being able to launder money or do anything. And I think it would cripple a lot of the organized crime syndicates. They'd have a hard time transacting in it unless they were using something else other than money, another commodity or something like that they were able to NFTs. Yeah, NFTs. It's time to produce some more artwork, Mickey, so we can get paid.
That's what it is, my friend.
That's Hunter Biden. Yeah, let's just receive those payments for those NFTs we made. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of world, I'm okay with it. If we were born into it, we wouldn't know any different.
That's true.
It would be okay for us if we were.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm not afraid of it. It just, the worrying thing is the transition. How desperate would people get?
Very. That's my answer to you. Because, well, you're attacking a fundamental pillars of existence here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not easy to deal with. So yeah, no, it would be a terrifying impact.
Yeah, completely. So when I stare into my fictitious pretend crystal ball, that's kind of all I see. I just see a whole bunch of things that are floating around, and there's no decision to make any of them reality. It's kind of like looking into alternate universes. Well, if this one happened here, this is what it would kind of look like. If this thing happened here, it would look like this. If we had a combination of anything, it would be pretty bad. But I'm more the optimist than I actually sound, because I don't really think it would be bad. There was a story that I read this week, which was the head of ExxonMobil, that said after 2045 there won't be a single drop of fuel sold. Not
Say
a single.
Again?
After
Really?
Yeah, after 2045, the head of ExxonMobil said there was not going to be any more fuel sold anywhere on the planet.
Wow. Okay, interesting. Well, I mean,
Everyone's going to have electric cars. Was there?
yeah, but look,
quote.
there's this whole myth around electric energy being clean.
It isn't.
So the car, yes, I mean, it runs cleanly, or so it seems anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But he says,
Big
we still have
industry
to generate
creates more.
Yeah, a battery is not it's not an
gas.
electricity generator. A
That's
battery,
right. Yeah.
The battery stores electricity, so it has to be made somewhere. And how do we make it, Dave?
Well, in Australia, it's all coal and gas.
Coal, oil, whatever. I mean, there it is. That's how we make it, guys. We can't. There's no way around this. It's just how it is. We're not smart about it either. We haven't really gotten much further than the steam engine, in our endeavors here. And electricity is still going to produce massive amounts of carbon emissions. It's just the nature of the beast, unless we can go completely solar, wind, water, whatever, right? But until that happens, look, 20 years, Dave? Maybe they can. Maybe they can. I don't know.
Oh, it's 2040.
Oh, 2040.
Yeah, not 45.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot closer. So I might still be alive.
I'm going to paste this into our chat, and you'll be surprised at the resemblance to our former Prime Minister. Ah, good old CEO Darren Woods. Every new passenger car sold in the world will be electric by 2040.
Well, yeah, good. It's not impossible, certainly.
Well, sold is one thing, but people buying it is another, and there's no way that they're going to cut fuel off if people still have fuel vehicles anyway.
Maybe it'll go back to the old days where you bought it at the chemist, at the apothecary. Oh, good man, I would like a vial of cocaine, 2 quarts of heroin, some Alka-Seltzer, and, oh yes, a gallon of your finest benzene.
Petroleum distillate.
Very good. Coming right up, sir. You've got your automobile out there? Oh, yes, I've got my velocipede. Which is really a bicycle, but no, but yeah, look, it could go, I mean, who knows?
I drink the ethanol.
Right? Yeah, well, it could be ethanol, right? You might be one of the few, I don't know, kooks that still has an internal combustion engine. Oh, look at that kook in its internal combustion engine.
Yeah, I think I'm going to, by that point, Mackie, I'm going to resemble Doc from Back to the Future.
I know. Yeah.
With a white lab coat, still driving my car, running only on ethanol that I've brewed myself.
Mr. Fusion, that's it. When you get a Mr. Fusion, put it in the bag.
Mr. Fusion, yes. It takes banana peels or anything, right? Yeah. Hey, DeLorean's made a brand new car.
Yes, I know.
After all this time.
I know. Because they went under, right?
Well, it was a cocaine thing.
Like, isn't everything a cocaine thing?
Well, you know.
The funny thing is this, right? So we learn about history and all kinds of things. This goes to your distraction as well, right? Yeah. This is the clean version over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at all these people that actually made history, right? And you look at how they lived and what they did and their lifestyles, etc., etc. You're going, oh, okay, these are actually real people that did things that weren't necessarily all above board either, right? And this is really something that gets lost. And that again goes to the great distraction, right? I mean, we all have a certain view of how things should be, and then they turn out to be quite different. And look, the greatest distraction.
Oh, welcome to my life.
that we ever faced was 9/11. That was the biggest sleight of hand, because everybody, terrorism, look over here. In the meantime, like we said before, Patriot Act 1 and 2, Homeland Office was Homeland Security, what it was called. And other nations had similar laws being passed. Terror laws. You can hold people as long as you like, as long as you accuse them of terrorism. That's a fairly broad spectrum offense as well. Look at Assange, Julian. He's been literally under house arrest for decades. And now he's been extradited. There's another distraction, though, right? It's just one person, but his struggle symbolizes the struggle for the greater community. But what is it that we're allowed to do? And if we do something that is not aligned with the parasites, is there anything we can do to avoid punishment? So the answer is clearly no, we cannot. Clearly we cannot. Because he you can feel any which way you want about him, but he is being punished for what arguably is just publishing of information. He's a publisher, right? He didn't invent the information. He didn't find the information. It was given to him. He published it. So we're now punishing people that publish information.
Free Assange.
Well, I think so. It is. All these, but again, it's a distraction. It's the struggle of one man. The struggle is greater. Similar with the abortion issue, the struggle is greater than just one person. I get it, but ask yourself what else is going on.
The struggle is the example.
Yeah.
Of don't do it.
Yeah. Correct.
Don't be a whistleblower.
Don't you? Don't touch the button. Don't call that person. No, but Dave, as Dave highlighted at the beginning of this, these are red herrings. These are distractions. Important topics, seemingly, right? But at the same time, other more important things are unfolding. Okay, and we completely ignored it. I mean, the one really important story, Dave, that you mentioned. What is the water situation in Nevada?
Mm.
Well, what is it? I mean,
Oh, it's hideous.
Yeah, are we good?
No.
Are we going to be okay?
I don't think so. So if you think about what the Hoover Dam meant for America when it was built, it's fantastic, right? Produced power, solid, still there. It provided water for California, Nevada, and I'd be wrong if I guessed the other one because I can't remember. About 40% of it goes to California. The rest goes to Nevada. And that is Las Vegas specifically. The problem here is that there is, in the last year, a linear drop of every single day. There's less to the same extent as it was the day before. And the drop is visible in a graph. You can see it. It was steady for like ever, and now it's on this linear slide. Now, if you follow the trajectory of it, it appears to give you about 2 years more water. But that's not true, because the volume, the greatest volume is when it's full, because it's so broad across valleys and valley floors and blah, blah, blah. Not at the dam itself, that's a really tight, constricted space. But if you go back upstream, it used to be very extremely broad, right? Miles wide. And now it isn't. Now it's not miles wide. You'd be lucky if it was a half a mile. And therefore, as it starts to reduce, it reduces in width, therefore reducing the overall volume, and you're going down in square roots of the volume in gallons, right? So that's really important to remember. And all the current calculations saying 2 years is a farce, because it can only supply water for about another 120 feet drop, and there isn't any likelihood of that turning around unless you had a once in a million year rain upstream of the valley, in the catchment area, to save yourselves. But otherwise, there's not going to be any water. Look at it all yourself. Check it out. I'm not going to put any links in. I'm saying the situation is dire, and in fact, I'm already going past that and saying, what would it look like in Las Vegas, where they said to come to Las Vegas, you've got to bring your own water? How do you flush the toilets? I don't know. We just pour alcohol down there or something, don't we? Right?
Like in water, like in the toilet.
Yeah, like in the toilet.
Yeah.
So maybe you just got to drink a lot, because what happens in Vegas stays there, right? I don't know how it operates, because all that's top secret. It's all classified. So not a word comes out of Vegas. So if you would drink enough, maybe you could flush the toilet by urinating enough. I don't know. I'm just being silly here. But there would be very large movements of people out of Vegas if that were the case, if there was no more water. The only thing keeping it alive was Hoover Dam, or Lake Mead, as you know. So there was a lot of money spent on resuscitating the river's outflow so that it could continue to feed its water customers. But we're really having a struggle now to see how that can survive from this low point now. Like I said, 200 yards of extra boat ramp have had to have been built to accommodate boats going in and out of the water. 200 yards of going down slope to where the water now exists. They've found a dead body, they've found boats and all sorts of things at the bottom of this lake that you couldn't see before completely. They were submerged. You never saw them. So it's drastic, and things are changing so quick that's going like 8 feet a week or something. So you divide 120 by 8 and you're going to find your golden number. That's not going to be very good. But water isn't just a challenge, Meki. There's no water there. Too much water in China. We've just had 6 months or 8 months of water we didn't need, right? Where we live.
Mm-hmm.
Where else is now suffering they're not getting the water? And not just in California, because California's got the least amount of, they got the most amount of power problems with, I think, 15% of their customers without power at the moment in California. Well, you wait until there's no power production out of Hoover Dam. That's going to make it worse. All right. So not only were we bang on the money, Meki, when we were talking about climate refugees, and everyone's laughing at us, getting hate mail saying, when's that going to happen? It's never going to be too hot. We'll always have air conditioners. But air conditioners pump the heat from inside your house to outside the house. It's just a heat exchanger. It makes outside even hotter. Crazy idea. But now we're seeing the side effects of there being no water. And you can only live places there's water.
Yes.
I imagine that the casinos themselves could afford to water everybody's houses. And they could even afford to have planes flying over, making rain, just dropping water out of the planes, right? They could do that. They've got enough money. But they won't. They could afford to have trucks with water to the horizon. But they probably won't. And in the last gasp of someone saying, water, the town will die. And the money will just move somewhere else. So, Meki, with the China floods, they have had an FE2 tornado as well. They tore up about a kilometre long strip of, it looked like pretty low cost buildings, to be honest. It weren't, high rise. It wasn't where the money was. A lot of the flooding's occurring because all of the dams are opening up and all of the lower socio-economic people live in floodplains and they're just being inundated because, that's just the way it goes. It saves the people with money, Maggie. That's what that does. And it isn't kind of the view that many countries would take, but, China is about the overall good for its people. As a management style, and the overall good for the people who have the most. So I'm not trying to be too harsh. I'm trying to be positive on it. But that's what you get. You've got to make sacrifices, and So I'm lucky, Meki, that I'm not in charge over there, or even a minister somewhere, because I don't think I'd make it to the car before I was taken out for saying such harsh words. But anyway, look, as a positive spin. It's a positive spin. After the top of the hour, our show topic today is water.
How about that?
That's a segue and a half.
Yeah, you're right, though. And again, it's a topic we have never addressed. And there's the music.
Look, it's only a short break. Take the time to donate. We'll be back in a short minute.